Welcome to Happy Homes and Gardens. I'm your host. My name is Daphne Royse. I am a real estate broker, architecture, and interior designer. Mixed martial arts, aka MMA, is an extreme sport that includes boxing, martial arts, and wrestling. Khai Wu has been an MMA fighter since 2016, has won many championship titles. Khai trained Mark Zuckerberg, who recently won gold and silver medals at his first Jiu-Jitsu tournament. Let's welcome Khai. Hello, Khai.
Hi, Daphne. Thank you for having me on.
Please tell us who you are and what you do.
My name is Khai Wu. I am a mixed martial artist fighter, and I am also a trainer as well. So those are the two main things that I pretty much do right now full time.
What do you train? What kind of stuff you train people?
So basically, I've done clients like military background. I've done like older folks. I've taught some grandmas and grandpas. I've taught at one of our gyms. We have a program called the Gorilla Super Gorillas. It's at the gym Gorilla Jiu-Jitsu. We teach anywhere from 3 to 5 year olds. And then, most recently the headlines, people saw me training Mark and whatnot. And a video came out with me and him last year. So, I train him as well now. Okay.
So basically your clients are from 3-5 to grandpa age?
Yeah, exactly. Anyone can do martial arts. Anyone that has, I don't think there's a limitation in martial arts. Like anyone that wants to do it, I'll definitely find a way for them to do it, if that makes sense. There's no requirement, I feel. And there's no certain thing that they have to do. It's just pretty much anyone could do it.
If there's no age limitation for martial arts, but do you have any recommendation what condition of their physical requirements needed?
There is none. I think the key to martial arts is just do it. A lot of people go I need to get in shape first. I need to do this and that. It's no, martial arts actually helps you get in shape. The only thing I would say is the important thing is if you want to get into martial arts, you need to find a good teacher. Because a good teacher will calibrate their teachings and methods to you. They'll cater to you specifically. That's why sometimes I like one-on-one trainings a little bit better, whereas in a group class setting, the trade-offs are in a group class setting, you're with a bunch of people, the energy's there, it's fun, but you're not getting that individualized attention. And if everyone has to do 20 push-ups and you can only do 5, it becomes somewhat of a challenge. That's why I do recommend the one-on-one trainings first in the beginning, and then you could do the class, or vice versa, do class and then realize you could do more. So I definitely don't think martial arts is so much what type of shape or prerequisite you need. It's more about finding the right instructor.
And how often this person need to be trained? Weekly?
It depends on what your goals are. If you want to just understand and explore the martial arts world, anywhere from 2 days a week is what we offer at our gym. I believe 2 days a week will get people introduced to martial arts, and you don't want to get into it too quickly. I've had teammates and friends who under 10 months of training, they get into MMA and they start fighting. And I'm like, under 10 months of training? Are you kidding me? That's not a long time. Police academy in America in some areas is only 6 months, that's barely a little bit more than police academy, so it's very extreme. And the problem with that is I've seen it backfire on them. They train so much, they get burnt out, it's you need to have a good work-life balance. So it depends on what your goals are, right? If your goal is to be a pro fighter, then you need to take the necessary steps, have the right coaches that tell you what to do and how to get there. If you're just looking to be a regular mix, like a martial artist that wants to participate in just regular training, there's no amount of days. It's just whenever you have free time,
You start learning martial arts when you were 9 years old.
Yeah.
And you start MMA fighting at 2016. Can you share the learning path and how you become a professional MMA fighter?
Yeah. So if you're asking in general, right, what is the path to being a pro fighter? There actually isn't really anyone could kind of be a pro fighter. Now, the difference between that and someone who's good is one person that jumps and becomes a pro fighter doesn't necessarily mean they're good. You need to fight amateur. There's no rule that says you have to. in California at least. Mixed martial arts is still such a new sport that it's there's not a whole lot of regulations. I mean, it's better now than ever, but a lot of the regulations are kind of like state by state. So there's no huge whole governing body, if that makes sense. So anyone could be a pro. But how I did it was, I was 9 years old. I started with my brother-in-law, Dave Camarillo. He was a family, my sisters, like they were dating at the time, my sister and my brother-in-law. They weren't married yet. So they were dating at the time. And then he heard I kind of wanted to do martial arts, and I was also dealing with getting bullied. And then next thing you know, I was doing jiu-jitsu a little bit, and then it just kind of started from there. And then gradually it just increased more and more and more into, I fought amateur. And I never wanted to do this as a pro. And also my parents were, Asian parents, they're very like kind of traditional in a sense. My mom's different, but my dad is like, I want you to make money. You need to make money. So then as an amateur, you don't get paid anything. It's just, out of your own time. Yeah, actually, if anything, you're paying money out to do medicals and all this stuff. So then I was basically like, I kind of had to force myself to go pro early on, which wasn't the best move, but it was the thing I had to do. I had to just adapt. And then, I started fighting professionally in 2018. So that's kind of how I became a pro fighter. It was due to pure family pressure of making money. And I was like, I got to do something. So if I could rewrite the story again, I would probably fight a little bit longer as an amateur. But essentially, I think the gist of it is, if someone wants to be a pro fighter, I would recommend them, becoming good at one martial art first, then exploring different martial arts from there. So it's a 3 to 5 year process. I think first 3 years as a martial artist, you learn how to fight in amateurs, compete. And then after 3 years, you evaluate your career, see if you're cut out for it. If you are, go pro. And then 3 to 5 years, you're fighting pro. The only thing with martial arts, though, is it's a very brutal sport. It's not like a basketball or baseball dream where you could just, I'm going to try it, and if I don't make it, I don't make it. It's like in fighting, you sustain a lot of injuries. And, there's the scary part is there has been deaths in fighting too. Not MMA per se. MMA, I don't think there's any deaths from fighting it, but boxing there is, just due to the concussive blows to the heads or consecutive blows. So the only issue I see in fighting is if someone isn't cut out for it, I think it's best someone tells them, or I've told some friends, I'm like, hey, I don't think you're cut out for fighting. Probably don't fight. That's the brutal truth to fighting, so that's where I stand with fighting.
How do you recoup from injury?
That's a good question. Everyone has different methods. I actually like, you need to start taking your supplements. You need to start, getting your sleep down. You can't go out and party or hang out with friends too late. There is like a very strict lifestyle, and that strict lifestyle will carry on into all your other, activities. Like you need to be very disciplined, right? So like, for example, in terms of recovery, like I would even say you would need to get massages on the regular. You have to like eat healthy, drink healthier stuff, such as like tea. Like tea is like a very good antioxidant. I would start there. But for every athlete, they're kind of different, because some guys are better than others. They don't need to recover. They could eat McDonald's and still fight. It's bizarre. They have good genetics, but I don't. So I have to take extreme measures for recovery.
Okay. And I understand you in a certain weight class of MMA. So how many MMA weight classes are there?
Off the top of my head, if I don't know the female weight class as well as I do the men's, but if you're talking about in the UFC, which is the overall global standard of MMA, you have I believe you have flyweight, you have bantamweight, you have featherweight, lightweight, welterweight, middleweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight. So you have 8 total. You have 8 weight classes total. Boxing is a little bit different because of the politics. They have weight classes every like 3 to 5 pounds. It's like very weird. Boxing has like an extreme, like a lot of weight classes, but in MMA you have 8, and it has a bigger gap. So in MMA it's like 125 is flyweight. The next weight class is 135. So that's a huge 10-pound difference. Whereas in boxing, it could just be 3 pounds.
Okay. 3 pounds is hardly anything. Why do they have to be little gap between each classes for the
Well,
boxing?
I think this now becomes a history lesson per se.
Okay.
And off the top of my head, it has to be due to politics in boxing because boxing has a different promotion, like a bunch of different promotions.
Okay.
They wanted different weight classes to kind of separate certain world titles. And also it is a very good marketing tool too. If one boxer has 3 belts on his shoulders, it looks like he's, insanely good, which he is. But the only difference is just he just basically went up a small weight class and up another small weight class. So, off the top of my head, that is, I mean, there is a lot more to it. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons why boxing has so much more. I think one of the main reasons too, it's also because it's been here the longest. Boxing has been here in American history since like the 1700s, I believe, 1800s. There's fights way back when, whereas MMA is early 90s. Like there hasn't been a big boom in MMA since the 90s. I think it was in Japan. That was like the biggest before UFC really started doing their thing in America.
I see. Since they're very strict on the weight, how many calories do you burn during training and how do you eat to maintain your weight?
So I constantly change my diet just based off what I'm trying to do. But I know recently I started fasting like the past couple years. So I don't eat breakfast. And then I train and I usually burn about, I don't know, anywhere from 800 to 1200 1200, yeah, 800 to 1200 calories per session.
1
that's
hour?
maybe like two and a half.
Okay.
2.5 hours. I burn around that much, which is a decent amount, but my diet consists of, like I could basically eat anything. Obviously, if you want to get into the details, you try to avoid like too much like sugar. You want to avoid fried food, anything that's not super healthy, like not really home cooked or whole foods. Like you if you want to eat like lunch, you want to eat like a chicken breast. You don't want to go out to eat like a burger or something. So that's kind of like my diet. It's kind of honestly very boring. That's why it's like there's not much to give you because I just eat whatever me and my nutritionist talk about. And I'm not a nutritionist myself, so I don't want to recommend anything to anyone. I recommend them do their own research. But other than that, I think overall what I eat is very not as fun. But I will say I do have a cheat meal when I'm not fighting. I drink boba a lot.
Oh, that's a lot of sugar.
Yes, but I think for me it's more along the lines of I don't really eat anything else that's bad. Like I don't eat chips, I don't drink soda, I don't drink alcohol. So if there's one bad thing that I do, it's that I drink boba because I've never really been into drinking beer. I've never really been into like drinking soda. I don't like the way it tastes on my teeth, like the way it feels. So I don't really eat, and I don't really like candy. I don't really like ice cream. Donuts are good, but after one, I can't eat anymore. There's too much sugar. But boba is the only thing where I'm like, wow, this thing's amazing. And also it's nostalgia. My dad and I used to live in San Jose. I was born there. We didn't really have bonding time. Like we didn't go play basketball or anything. All our bonding time I remembered was we watched a movie. And then we'd get boba, like look for boba around the area back in the early 2000s. And there wasn't that much boba shops. There's only a couple of them, like a couple, better ones. Now everywhere we go, there's a boba spot. So I'm very happy. Like that's like a nostalgia thing for me. And then also fighting in Taiwan, to capture kind of like the audience. I remember before my first pro fight, my trash talk was I need to knock my opponent out really quickly so I could go get some boba and hot pot. And then I think I'm not really much of a trash talker, so in my opinion that was trash talking. And then everyone in Taiwan loved it, and ever since then, my other nickname is also the Boba King. So when I go back to Taiwan and teach seminars, people ask me to sign their boba drinks and stuff. It's very funny. It kind of all came out of nowhere, but that's my only other cheat meal, boba.
Okay. I know the best Taiwanese boba in Palo Alto. So next time when I see you, I'm going to get you one.
Perfect. Thank you. That'd be awesome. I'm excited.
Tell us fitness benefits of boxing, martial arts, and wrestling.
Well, The fitness side of things, you're just talking about it's a great workout. You're using muscles that you don't really use. Like lifting weights is great, but they're all very like I'm not saying weightlifting isn't bad, by the way. I'm just saying there are very like like the movements that you do, it's like, you know, like lifting stuff to increase muscle. But you're always kind of stationary in a sense. Even if you do like a huge deadlift, that's very explosive. And if you don't do the right training to kind of like supplement that and right, you know, you could potentially injure yourself. Now, fighting is the difference with fighting, I think, is it's a constant state of like when you're running, you're kind of just doing one thing, like you jog and sprint. It's like your mind is kind of focused on like this thing. Whereas in fighting, martial arts, if you're not talking about competition, if you're just doing regular class, you're hitting the bag, or if you're hitting a pad, it's moving. It's your footwork has to keep moving. You're tired, but you're not running in a linear line. You're like moving side to side. In jiu-jitsu, you're grappling with someone. Someone's on top of you. You're really tired. You can't breathe. They're trying to choke you. You know what I mean? So there's like a lot of like, I think benefits to martial arts in terms of the mental aspect of things. Like no matter what, if you just exercise, you're going to lose weight no matter what. So losing weight is actually not that hard because I feel like there's so many ways to do it, fun ways to do it now. Yoga, you could just get in the sauna every day and you're basically losing weight like that, not even working out, you know, because your heart is expanding, it works on your cardiovascular health, all those things. So in my opinion, martial arts is not only fun, but ultimately it creates confidence. You could be a great power lifter, weightlifter, or exercise person, whatever. But if you don't have the confidence to be in public and showcase, you know, whatever, your demeanor, it doesn't look very good. So that's why I think martial arts gives you this sense of confidence, you know. I don't want to say overconfidence because it could happen, but the thing is, martial arts, it humbles you because there's always someone better than you, right? There's always someone better than you. And you'll never think, I'm the best. The minute you think that, your coach is on the mat beating you up, you know? So I think that's why it's very important to do martial arts, to keep you humble and also to gain that confidence, really. Because I came from a background where I was not very confident. I got bullied when I was little. So coming from like being shy, not being able to talk to anyone, to you know, like I get scheduled interviews like this, you know, to being able to just talk like as if it's like a normal day for me. It all came from martial arts. It all came from that background, which is, you know, pretty cool. But in a lot of the photos from my middle school, high school, you can see I'm very shy. I don't really like talking too much. You know, I was afraid of giving presentation speeches, but now it's like you're fighting in front of, you know, however many people. I think the most I ever fought in front of was like 5,000 people or 10,000 people. And it gets nerve wracking, you know, you're fighting in front of everyone. You're on the news. You know, you're like, if I get knocked out or if I lose in front of all these people, you know, like who's laughing, who's watching, you know, like it gets really crazy. So I think martial arts, the biggest fitness benefit is the confidence that you get out of it. It's not really a fitness confidence now; it becomes a mental aspect of things. But I still think it's very important.
What is needed to be a good fighter?
If you're asking if you can choose one quality in a fighter, it's definitely got to be the heart. Like just teaching the heart, the grit, because a lot of fighters could be good. They could be really good at fighting, but then the minute things don't go their way, if they crumble under the pressure, you're no longer a good fighter. A good fighter is someone who may not have the technique, who may not have the skill set to beat their opponent, but they have the heart and the willingness. There's something about that it's really hard. They say you can't teach it, but I think you can, because I kind of learned it because I didn't think I had heart. But then again, this is like very philosophical because I love philosophy. The thing is, I didn't think I had heart as a fighter, but then a coach of mine that he loves philosophy too, he was talking to me, he was like, did you not have heart, or did you always have it? You just didn't realize you had it. Like you had to discover it. And I'm like, that's a good way of looking at it. So if you're asking me on what the most important quality of a fighter is, it's the heart. Can they fight through the tough, you know, like you could see people's like, kind of like they're getting tired, their mind is leaving their body, they're like, I want to get out of here, I want to just collect a paycheck. Where some fighters will bite down on their mouthpiece when it gets tough, and they'll continue to walk forward and punch harder and, you know, fight through the tough situations that they're in. And I think that's the ultimate like trait of a good fighter, because they can't be stopped. So I would definitely say that's the most important aspect.
That's very interesting. I would never thought that would be the answer.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think everyone thinks technique is king, which technique is very important. But at the end of the day, without the confidence and the heart to back it up through the tough times, it's tough, you know.
How did you become trainer for Mark Zuckerberg?
He was looking into getting into martial arts, and basically, you know, I think we our gym Gorilla Jiu-Jitsu is pretty well known just because of Dave Camarillo, our head instructor. He has done a lot of things. He recently worked on the newest John Wick 4 movie. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. You know, he's done like a lot of movie stuff, you know. So I think him and I also did a lot of stuff with the military. And I think with Mark, he was looking at someone who could teach, you know, a wide variety of martial arts, because Dave is a judo, my brother-in-law, he's a judo black belt and jiu-jitsu black belt. And then I'm a pro fighter. So I think it just kind of worked out that way.
Okay. What did you train him? Just jiu-jitsu, or was it something else?
Yeah, well, in our video that you saw of him and I, we did a little bit of striking, and then we did a little bit of grappling. But yeah, essentially jiu-jitsu, because he was competing for jiu-jitsu, like the recent headlines that everyone saw, you know, he did jiu-jitsu. So that's what we were mainly focusing on.
Okay. I saw you had a fight in Taiwan. Do you think the popularity of boxing, kickboxing, and MMA will increase in Asia?
I think Muay Thai is big in Thailand, right? I think MMA and boxing is big in Japan. Like Japan has this whole thing. So if you're and China has Sanda. MMA in China is definitely growing because you have Zhang Weili is a female UFC champion. She's the first Chinese female champion, or she's the first Chinese UFC fighter to ever win gold. So Zhang Weili is like very incredible. She's based out of China. If you're asking me about Taiwan, MMA is growing there. The past like 5 years that I've visited, it's definitely growing tremendously. It's so cool to see, because it's like, when do you ever get to go to a country where mixed martial or a sport, let's not even talk about fighting. When do you ever go to a country where a sport is not developed? You almost don't see that anymore. There's almost every single sport you can think of mainstream. It's in every country. Basketball, name a country that doesn't have basketball. You know what I mean? Like every country has it. But mixed martial arts, to be on the forefront, to see the pioneers of Taiwan, like mixed martial arts, like, you know, there's the Jeff Huang, Rocky Lee, the first Taiwanese UFC fighter, you know, and then you have Kemp, who is like a big proponent of growing the MMA scene out. This is just a lot of people, you know, so it's really cool to see how much MMA has grown, and for me to go back and to be welcomed the way I do. It's like MMA is getting so big to where if I walk around in public with my mom, people will recognize me, and they'll stop us for a photo, and I'm like, there's no way. Like I would have thought, you know. I'm like, MMA is cool. I think there would be a lot of spectators, but I didn't think it'd get to the point where I do a bunch of seminars out there, and I, you know, do I do like a autograph signing there, or I sign people's boba cups, you know. It's just very extreme. It's very bizarre. And then like headline shows, and the people go there. They take the last couple times I fought, it was on a Sunday. And there's people that literally went to the show that told me they called work off the next day. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, are you serious? You know, like it just never came to my mind that it would be like that for Taiwan MMA, you know. So it's bizarre. So yes, the question is, I think the popularity is definitely growing. And I think there's the market, because it's untapped. Whoever's first, it's just going to blow it up with the right amount of resources. I think it's just going to blow up. So I definitely think MMA is growing tremendously in Asia.
Is there enough trainers in Asia?
I would definitely say yes. There's enough trainers. It's you know what I actually think for MMA in Taiwan, or in Asia in general. I actually think it doesn't have to do with trainers or enough gyms, or obviously there has to be enough people participating. So how do you get more people to do it? You need better marketing. I think the marketing that comes down in Asia, marketing in Asia, it's amazing. For some reason, mixed martial arts or gym owners in Asia, they don't know how to market. So they need to work on that a little bit more, I think, and that'll get more mainstream because a lot of people, they don't market, and no one knew that there was a gym there for the past 6-7 years. I'm like, there's a gym there this whole time? They're like, yeah. I'm like, do you have an Instagram page? Do you have a Facebook page? They're like, not really. Like, if people want to do martial arts, they'll just walk in. And I'm like, that's a horrible mentality. You know, that's not the right way to think. If you want to spread martial arts, you got to teach kids class. Some of them don't even want to teach kids class because they think it's too much of a liability. And I'm like, you got to, you know, if you want something to change, you got to kind of either help change it or, you know, be a part of it somehow. And I think that some of them, they are just so focused on fighting, they don't think of their life afterwards. So a lot of them tend to forget. And I think you're seeing a better involvement now. There's this gym, I want to give them a shout out. They're called Ants Gym in Taiwan. They are tremendous, friendly front desk staff, huge gym, state of the art. Like I have yet to see a gym in America that's this big and that's this nice. Like I just haven't been to one, and that gym's awesome. And I just think that, like, if more gyms like that start popping up, you're going to start seeing a lot of people starting to do martial arts, and it's going to just skyrocket in terms of popularity. The potential's limitless because people in Asia love watching martial arts. You know, it's just more along the lines of organizations, the people that are going to come together, put the event, how well they do now. So the ball's in the promoter's court, not in the people's court.
Wow, that's amazing to learn that.
Yeah.
Answer your question, see if you have an answer for this. Who will win in the fight between Muhammad Ali and Bruce Lee?
That's interesting because if you're just saying in a pure street fight, I think Bruce Lee might win it because Bruce Lee, he could kick, he could punch, he could do a little bit of grappling. They call him the godfather of MMA because he actually did some jiu-jitsu like he studied grappling. So I would say a lot of the kung fu moves that he knows too, contrary to popular belief, kung fu was not meant for competition. It was more for like street fights, you know, like because you use like your fingers to someone's throat, their eyes, their neck. So I think in a street fight he would win, but in an actual sanctioned fight where if you say Bruce Lee can only punch, Muhammad Ali definitely wins. If you actually add kicks to the equation, I think that'd be very interesting because Muhammad Ali is huge. But then the thing is, no matter how big you are, if you don't know how to condition your legs for kicks, like a Muay Thai fighter, it's going to hurt really bad. So if Bruce Lee was capable of throwing the kicks that he practices in an actual fight, I definitely think a side kick to the solar plex, a spinning back kick, I think that would have dropped Muhammad Ali. But if you just say pure boxing fight, yeah, Muhammad Ali wins all day.
Interesting for your analysis on this.
Yeah.
Well, tell us how people can contact you if they're interested in boxing, martial arts, or wrestling, or anything else that you train people for.
Yeah. So people, if they want to learn martial arts, I go to a gym in Hercules. It's called Omni Movement in Hercules. That's one gym I go to. They offer everything: jiu-jitsu, boxing, Muay Thai. So they have a wide variety of classes. I also go to a gym in Pleasanton called Gorilla Jiu-Jitsu. There's a lot of affiliates. So if anyone ever wanted to go check out those gyms, we have one in San Jose. We have one in Modesto. We have one in Turlock. We have them in a lot of places. I'm like forgetting a couple of them. That's how many we have. They're all good affiliates. So they're great gyms. I recommend if anyone wanted to do jiu-jitsu to go check those areas out. And then people, if they want to follow me or reach out to me, it's my Instagram is my name, Khai Wu. I believe same thing with my Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter and TikTok, basically. So it's pretty much all the same. I don't think there's a lot of Khai Wus out there. So you can just look me up and find pretty much all my information. So if anyone has any questions, that they want to message me about, or I love chatting with people. That's another thing too. There's people that literally, I'm a big comic book fan. There's people that have literally messaged me about like, hey, what do you think about the new Batman movie? And I'll literally, chat with them about that just because I'm such a huge, like a comic book fan nerd and all that stuff. So I actually have conversations with some of my fans back in Taiwan about superhero movies. So it's pretty funny. So I'm always open for a conversation.
Would you want to be one of the characters in
Marvel or DC, like a comic book character? Yeah, of course. I
comic
love
books?
to do
Yes.
a live action movie or voiceover. I'd love to do that. I don't know. I might be dabbling in Hollywood soon. Like I might just go there and like try to network and meet some people because I do know some people. But we'll see. I mean, I'm still fighting, right? Fighting is what gets me up every morning, the fear of fighting. But I would definitely love to play a character one day. If there ever was a chance, I'm definitely taking it.
So how many hours are you actually training every day?
2 sessions a day. So probably 5 hours, two and a half in the morning, maybe around 2 hours at night. So 4.5 to 5 hours.
Okay. Every day? You don't take a break?
Monday through Friday. I probably take off Saturday and Sundays.
Got it. That's still a lot of fights, a lot of trainings.
Yeah, I'm getting to that point now where it's less is more. It's more quality over quantity now. And then when I get into fights, like I have actual fights coming up, that's when you kind of have to like really make sure everything is, perfect. You can't like today, if I don't feel like training, I could kind of slack off. Whereas when I have a fight coming up and you sign that, you always get nervous when you sign the contract because you can't back out now. I mean, you technically still can, but obviously for me, I've never backed out of a fight. So then I start getting like, ooh, there's no turning back now. So then, you have to make it through. So it's very exciting.
Wow. Okay. I wish all the best to you. And thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you.